Ever catch yourself mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, not even realizing what you're looking at anymore? Or maybe you've spent some hours binge watching Netflix only to wonder where the time went. And if you're a gamer, you know the feeling. Playing for hours, not even enjoying it anymore, but still pushing through for no reason other than habit. It's like you're stuck in this loop, numbing yourself from real life. We've all done it. These moments might seem harmless, but what if I told you they're actually a form of escape? Yep, whether it's mindlessly scrolling, binge watching, or losing yourself in a game, you're not just passing time. You're escaping. Escaping from the discomfort, the challenges, or even just the boredom of real life. Instead of facing the hard stuff, you're checking out. But the longer we escape, the more we disconnect from our true selves and from the world around us. But here's the thing, we're not alone in this. I think we all do this to some extent, and it's only when we start to recognize these patterns in ourselves that we can begin to make a change. Let's talk about the ways we escape from reality. For most of us, it's subtle. It's that dopamine hit from checking social media, constantly needing something to keep our mind busy. We binge watch TV shows we rarely care about just to fill the void. Sometimes we even work long hours to avoid dealing with things at home. It's funny, we often think of escapism as something extreme, like substance abuse or gambling addictions. But the truth is, we numb ourselves from reality every day with things that just seem normal. Things like overworking, getting lost in social media, eating comfort food, or even engaging in drama to keep the focus off what's really going on inside. Think about it. When was the last time you had some quiet time with your thoughts? No distractions, no noise. That can feel uncomfortable, right? The silence, the space to actually think. That's why we fill our days with noise, with stuff. But this noise, scrolling, watching, overworking, is keeping us from facing real life. So why do we do this? Why do we escape? Simple. Because reality is hard. Life can be messy, filled with fear, anxiety, and uncertainty. And let's be real. It's easier to dive into TikTok than to sit with those feelings of inadequacy. It's easier to turn on the TV than to address the fact that you're unhappy in your job or relationship. Escapism is a way to avoid the discomfort of real life. It's a defense mechanism. If we distract ourselves, we don't have to face the big questions like, am I happy? Am I living the life I really want? What's my purpose? We're running from the very things that could lead to growth, change, and fulfillment. I get it though. I've been there. There's this little voice in your head that tells you to avoid the hard stuff, that it's too overwhelming. When I had auditions lined up, especially for roles I really wanted, there were times I'd find myself gaming the night before instead of prepping. The fear of not nailing it would kick in, so I'd numb out and escape. It's almost like I was protecting myself from the possibility of failure. Even when I started doing sales, knowing exactly what to say to a potential client was one thing, but taking action was another. I'd find myself scrolling through my phone or responding to low priority emails just to avoid walking in or making a call. Why? Because that interaction represented the chance for rejection, and that was uncomfortable. But by avoiding discomfort, I was also avoiding progress. These distractions, this numbing, it's like a buffer. It gives us an excuse not to confront the difficult stuff. But here's the catch. The more we numb ourselves, the further we drift from the real life we want to live. How about you? Have you ever caught yourself escaping reality, whether it's through screens, substances, or emotional avoidance? Maybe you avoid certain conversations with loved ones or avoid dealing with your emotions altogether. Maybe you're numbing yourself from the fear of failure, or even the fear of success. Maybe you're avoiding the uncomfortable feelings that come with change or uncertainty. Whatever it is, know that you're not alone. We're all in this together, and it's only when we start to acknowledge these patterns in ourselves that we can begin to make a change. For me, that moment of clarity came when I realized I was using video games to escape my own feelings of inadequacy. I would dive into games for hours, not even enjoying them anymore, just playing to drown out thoughts in my head. After moving to Los Angeles to pursue acting, life didn't look the way I expected it to right out of college. Then again, we were still living through the pandemic, but I thought I'd be further along hitting milestones I'd dreamed about. But instead, I was stuck, like I wasn't living up to the version of myself that I had envisioned. Rather than face those feelings head on, I turned to video games as a way to numb the disappointment. It was easier to get lost than to deal with the reality of feeling like I wasn't measuring up. But one day I stopped. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw someone who was completely disconnected from his own life, just going through the motions. That realization hit hard, but it was also a turning point. I started to confront my own numbing behaviors, and slowly but surely, I began to feel more alive, more connected, and more engaged with the world around me. It wasn't easy, and it still isn't. There are days where I catch myself slipping back into old patterns, but the difference is that I'm now aware of it. I can recognize when I'm numbing myself, and I can make a conscious choice to stop. So, how do we stop? How do we break out of this cycle of numbing, escaping, and avoidance? For me, it was asking myself, what am I running away from? What am I avoiding? What was causing me to feel like I needed to escape? Is it fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being vulnerable? Once I knew what those feelings were, I could start to work on them. I started saying no to social invitations that didn't serve me, and yes to experiences that scared me. I started having uncomfortable conversations, and I started taking responsibility. It's uncomfortable at first. Being alone with your thoughts, sitting in silence, or dealing with your emotions head on, it's tough. But that discomfort is where the magic happens. It's where real growth and transformation begin. Second, replace these escapist habits with intentional actions. Instead of numbing out with your phone, maybe take a walk, breathe in that fresh air, and get some sunlight. Taking in the outside without the distraction of your phone can give you some real clarity to know how you're feeling. Instead of binging TV, tackle one of those difficult things you've been avoiding, like that pile of dishes or the stack of laundry that always seems to pile up. When you switch from passive distraction to active engagement, your life starts to change, and you won't feel like you're just going through the motions. And finally, understand that life doesn't have to be a constant stream of distraction or escape. Real life, with all of its messiness and challenges, is where true fulfillment lies. When you stop escaping, you open yourself up to the opportunities, the relationships, and growth that make life meaningful. Escaping might seem like a quick fix, but the longer you avoid the real world, the further you drift from the life you actually want. So ask yourself, am I living or am I escaping? Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about living in the moment rather than escaping from it. It's about being brave enough to confront your own demons rather than numbing them. Here's the challenge. Next time you reach for your phone or hit play on the next episode, stop and ask yourself, am I trying to escape from an uncomfortable feeling right now? Face that question head on and be honest with yourself. Because if the answer is yes, escaping isn't the answer.